Hi, my name is Norm Perello. I'm a furniture designer maker at Perello Design and woodworking educator at WoodSkills. And today I'd like to talk about the system I use to create loose tenon joinery. I'm not really interested in acquiring or purchasing a domino system. I don't really need a sizable investment, so I've made do with my setup where I can create the slots for the loose tenons. And this is an example of loose tenon joinery. It's created on either one of my systems. So I have two systems. I have a more modified system based on the Jessem zip slot tenoning jig, and a more dedicated slot mortiser, and I'll show that in the next part of the video. So they work quite well for me. Now the advantage of a domino is that it's portable and you can actually bring the tool to the workpiece, and whereas this system you need to bring the workpiece to the tool. But it's working well for me, and it's very inexpensive for me to set this up, and I understand it completely. So I'll be giving a demonstration of how all this works in the rest of the video, and hopefully you can gain some insight into alternatives to a domino joiner. So enjoy. So this is one of the systems I use. This was actually the first system I used, and it's based on this Jessem zip slot mortiser. So I mounted it horizontally and using the rolling cart as a base for all the components when I'm mortising. So this is, I would actually attach a rail or a stile in this orientation or in this orientation, and move this along using a hand drill and just work my way in. So it's just a matter of setting everything up, and you can easily create large amount of multiples of slots and different components using this system. So it's served me well once I've set the height or the offset. So this is the vertical offset, and that's the horizontal offset I was just referring to. And I've also developed a micro adjust system so I can raise and lower the carriage to offset the slot within the component. So in this case it's centered. Typically it's centered, but you can offset it and create multiple slots within one component. Now we're tenons, loose tenons, and this is the adjustment on setting it up for in the rail and setting it up in the stile in the opposite. So once it's all set up, you can create a large amount of multiples using this setup with a drill. And it's just a slow progression of entering a drill within a component. It doesn't take long at all. The end result is a very clean slot. I have had absolutely no issues with it. So I've purchased pre-made loose tenons that work well with this arrangement. And I like this system so much that I've actually purchased a second one of these zip slot mortis mills. And they're very well engineered, they're very solidly built. It also has a dust chute here. I haven't hooked that up now because I'm not using it. I would normally have my dust collector. You need to extract the dust when you're using it. It's almost critical to get the dust out of there for a clean cut. So I'll be giving a further demonstration of this in the rest of the video that's coming up. So sit back and enjoy. I'm Norm Perello from WoodSkills, and I'd like to talk about a few woodworking books I've written. My recent book is Quiet Woodworking in an Unquiet World. It talks about my movement to hand tools, from high-tech to low-tech, a woodworker's journey, which chronicles my journey from my former high-tech career to my current furniture-making career. Along with that, I offer courses through woodskills.com. The courses range from a basic woodworking course right through to furniture design and a comprehensive design and making course. All books are available in both print and digital format. So instead of using a domino, these are my two setups. At the left is an earlier setup where I mounted a Jessem Mortise Mill horizontally, and I used the surface of the table. And on the right is a newer refurbished horizontal mortiser. The Mortise Mill works in conjunction with an end mill. It's a very large bearing, and it's designed to work very well with a hand drill, an electric hand drill at that lower speed. It worked well until I, of course, came across the refurbished vintage horizontal mortiser dedicated with a dedicated router. So these are the two methods I use. The original Jessem horizontal mortising setup has a micro adjust that I developed to raise and lower the setting, so I can either center the slot on the edge or the end of a board, or offset it from an edge, and it works really well because it fine tunes it. Unlike the when you have to use it according to the manufacturer's instructions, there was no provision for that at all. The slots are created using a drill, just a regular portable drill, a bearing that's included with the mortise mill, and the end mill, which is custom for that particular mortise mill. So the jig motion is limited to x-axis. Y-axis is the motion is manual, and that's that actually creates a deeper slot. And the z-axis is again that fine micro adjust system that I developed. I'd like to talk about a mortising system I've been using for a few months now. This involves loose tenon joinery, and it's a slot mortiser. So this began as a Jessem Corporation zip slot mortise mill, and I purchased this several years ago. Used it a few times, but I was not really satisfied with the results. The results were great, but it was sort of cumbersome to use. It's designed to sit on to be clamped or attached to the edge of a bench with a vacuum hose, and it functions with a power drill and its own unique drill bit. It's an end mill actually that works in conjunction with a bushing and a bearing bushing system, and the actual slot is created by moving the way along two rails with the drill in place. So it worked fine. I just found it cumbersome because I had to align the boards vertically in one case and horizontally in the other, and there was no support for the board. So after using it for a while, I sort of gave up on it, and it's been sitting on a shelf and gathering dust for a number of years now. So it's actually a very well engineered piece of machinery. This is the vacuum slot, 2.5-inch hose. There's all sorts of adjustments to create the actual slot. This is the width adjustment. This would orient the width of the slot. This is the actual offset on the edge of a board from top to bottom. These two adjustments, and they need to be parallel actually. And the other adjustment is a top plate. This actually holds the board either in this orientation or this orientation against the jig, the tool, and while you're actually driving the end mill with a power drill and going back and forth. Now there is a small technique to actually performing that correctly. So I'll just show you what I've done here with the micro adjust system. This is the carriage I was referring to earlier, and this moves up and down to create the offset for the slot. So typically the slots are centered, but you can offset them. Aside from that, you need to raise this carriage or lower it to accommodate thicker boards. So if this board were twice as thick, for example, the carriage would have to be raised. And to raise it without the micro adjust I would have to release these two screws and then physically move it up and down and try to tighten the screws while I'm holding it, which is fairly difficult to do. So what I've done is I created the micro adjust. So I just back the screws off, and then just I can adjust, and I can create a sort of an axis of micro adjust. So I can raise it and lower it, and it's very, 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 very simple to raise and lower. You can see it going up and down now. So actually the weight of the carriage works to my advantage because it actually keeps the assembly together to actually raise and lower. So this makes my life much easier using this unit mounted horizontally as opposed to what the original mounting instructions were. Next, I'm demonstrating how the micro adjust system I developed works with using a hand crank, and you can move it up or down and fine tune the adjustment. So this actually centers the slot in the end or edge of a board, or offsets it from an edge. So it works really well, and you almost need this with this type of mill to make it functional, to make it usable. So next, I'm creating mortises in a table leg using shop-made outboard support. So because the mortise mill is mounted horizontally, I can use the actual table surface on a shop cart as a reference or as a support. So it works much better than when the mortise mill was mounted vertically and having the board hang down and trying to clamp it and keep it from falling. As you put pressure with the drill, it would press the board down. That didn't work, so that explains the unpopularity of this jig until I made this modification. It works really well now. So this is the beginning of the operations. I have a table leg mounted, and I've already created one slot, you can see, and I'm creating another now. So next we're setting up to mortise the end of a rail and a stile, and then I'll join them together, and I'll show you how accurate and precise this jig, this mortise mill actually works. So I'll just go ahead and clamp this now. So it needs to be very securely clamped. And I'll actually talk about the additional part of this, the micro adjust part of it that I created afterwards to facilitate moving the assembly up and down. So the crosshairs are centered in where the actual location of the loose tenon or the mortise will be located. For example, this is centered along the edge, but it doesn't necessarily have to be centered. It could be offset from either side. Hence, they provide this adjustment, and the adjustment also enables you to create slots in thicker boards. So if this were twice as thick, I would need to raise the carriage to correspond to create that mortise. So, but because it's mounted vertically, it's a little bit difficult to do. It's not as easy because it keeps dropping due to gravity. So I've created the micro adjust system, and I'll demonstrate that afterwards, but only after I've created the mortises because it's preset. You need to clamp the boards down fairly securely, and I use this deep throat clamp very deep throat clamp to be able to do that. And so I've already marked the boards, and one of the markings is very simple. It's just center line. So this orients the slot at the center line of the edge of the board, although it can be offset. And this is the other marking is the distance from the end. So this is actually the beginning of the mortise, with allowing for 3/16, which would be half the diameter of the drill bit that I'm using. So These are the only two markings, and you can, once I've marked these off on the board, I just orient this on the unit, and I center it through two crosshairs on the actual unit itself, and then clamp it down. So I'll do that now. I'm using ear protection because it's quite noisy. Creating the mortise isn't noisy at all, but the vacuum system is. So I'll have to reduce that volume shortly. And this is the drill I use. I actually use I don't use a cordless drill, although you can. And this is the end mill with a collar, or a stop collar. So this is already preset to the depth of 1 inch, which is half the length of the actual tenon, a loose tenon. So half of 2 is 1. So 1 inch on either of the frame members. So that's the actual slot. So if I measure this, I have, oops. If I measure this, I got about 1 inch there. So that should be fine. So I'll go ahead and do the completed loose tenon mortises for the legs, rails, and aprons can be seen here. All the components have loose tenon joinery now, created with that mortise mill. And this is an example of the subsequent rail and stile joined together with the loose tenon joint. So please subscribe to my YouTube woodworking channel, where I share more of my woodworking techniques, my woodworking philosophy, my thoughts on woodworking, and all the challenges I've experienced, and I introduce some of the new forms of woodworking I've discovered. And also visit woodskills.com, where I have a good selection of my books, both in print and digital format, on woodworking, and all my online courses, and I also offer some woodworking plans. I have maintained a regular blog on what I've got going on in my workshop and in woodworking in general. So enjoy.